So let's talk a bit about some different functions, text functions in ROBOTC, and then let's write our first program. So we're going to look over here at the text function, so that's just a part of your screen. If it's in the way or you want to scoot it over, you can actually move it a little bit to get it out of the way. Mainly what we're going to be working with is the natural language, and we're actually only going to use a few of those. So the movement, the wait, and until commands are different things that we're going to be dealing with mainly in this class. Not saying that we won't use anything outside that, but most of what we're going to do has to do with these three different areas. So the first of those is movement, having to do with starting a motor, which usually deals with motion. And the only two we're going to use here are start motor and stop motor. You notice that it gives you a couple of things here. It tells you a little bit about this different function. So for the start motor, it tells you when you roll your mouse over it to start a motor at a specified speed and what that range is, and then it tells you ports 1 through 9 is what you can use for that. And then it also gives you an example here of what that code should look like. The next one is wait. So a lot of times in our programs we're going to have to wait for a specific amount of time, and that could be in seconds or that could be in milliseconds. So you can use either one of those. And then the last one is until. So when we're dealing with sensors, a lot of times we'll wait until a button is pressed, or you're waiting until the potentiometer gets to a certain position, and so an until command would be used for those things. So let's go ahead and let's start our first program. So I'm getting this program from the PowerPoint that you have access to, the 233. So if you want to pull that right on up with this video, that's fine. I'm going to do the same thing, and I'm going to be pulling from the pseudo code in that activity. So there it is right there, slide 23. So for this particular program, I want the program to do several things. Now before we actually do this, I do want to mention that you do need the test bed completed. So the test bed that you complete in activity 232, we want to make sure that that's fully completed and built before we start this program. But we're only for the purpose of practice, and this example we're going to be using one of the motors. And so the first thing that we're going to do is write the pseudocode. And so in order to get into our first program, I actually want to open a new file, and what Mr. Kalsbeek hopefully has recommended to you is to open up and download the PLTW template, which if you're not sure where that is, this should be a review. You can go to your files, and it's actually under the general student resources, and you can scroll down all the way to the PLTW template, or you can search for it up here in the search. So download that, open it up, and then the first thing I'm going to do is actually to do a save as, so it doesn't save over top of my template. And I'm just going to save this to the desktop. I'm going to call it ROBOTC practice. Yes, I want to replace it. And then up here, if you remember from the last video, we have two different kinds of comments, which is something that the compiler, when I go to run my program, it's actually going to overlook any kind of comment. So the first kind is a multi-line comment, and that's done by the little /* and then the */, and everything in between those two things is going to be ignored. And so I can type anything up here and it will be ignored by the program when I run the program. So I'm going to just call this the ROBOTC practice. You can list your team members, the date, your class period, any of that here. What I want to work on right now is the pseudocode. So the pseudocode, we can just start that on line 13. If you want to go down to the next line, that's fine too. You're going to find whatever works best for your organization. So for the pseudocode, I actually, let's see, I'm going to move that over to this part of the screen. I'm going to pull the PowerPoint over here so I can see what the pseudocode is supposed to do. So for this program, I want to start the motor at full speed, and it's going to run for 3 seconds, and then I want the motor to stop. It's going to wait for 10 seconds and then turn on again, but at half speed for 3 seconds, and then it's going to stop, and then it's going to wait for 2 seconds again before it turns on at half speed in the reverse direction for 3 seconds, and then it's going to stop. I know it seems like a lot of really basic steps, and it is, and it's a very simple program, but we have to break it down into these really simple parts so that ROBOTC can understand what we're trying to tell it. So in the pseudocode here, let's go ahead and start writing our program. So the first thing that I want to do is to start the motor, and so I can begin that by using my start motor command. So I can go over here to my text functions, and as you get more comfortable with them, you'll be able to type them out and you won't need these over here. So the first command is start motor, and so I can actually look over here in the pseudocode and type in, start typing in my pseudocode. Sorry, I'm getting ahead of myself. We're not actually typing in the code just yet, we're doing pseudocode. So I want to start the right motor. Let's just call it the right motor. That's the first step. And so after that, we want it to run full speed. So I can actually put that up here because that goes with this. Right motor, full speed. And then after that, it's going to run for 3 seconds. So I'm actually going to tell it to wait 3 seconds. I can fix that. Sometimes when you press enter, like I did there, trying to be really quick, it'll make things a little bit crazy. So wait for 3 seconds, and then I want it to stop or turn off the motor. So then I want it to stop right motor. And then after that, I'm going to wait for how long? 10 seconds. Wait 10 seconds before it starts again. And so after that, once I get down to the next line, I don't know why it keeps doing that. So now, after it's waited 10 seconds, now I'm going to turn the motor on again, start, and if you want to go at a different pace than I'm going, you can fast forward through some of this stuff and go at your own pace. So I'm going to start right motor at half speed. And I'm going to do that for 3 seconds. Wait 3 seconds before I turn it off, which is going to be stop right motor. Okay, so now that I've gotten it to stop after going half speed for 30 seconds, I want it to wait for 2 seconds. 2 seconds. So how about I actually type in seconds? Okay, wait for 2 seconds, and then it's going to start the right motor at reverse half speed. And it's going to do that for 3 seconds, so I'm going to tell it to wait for 3 seconds again. And then I'm going to tell it to stop right motor. So now we've just completed our pseudocode. And this is, the better that we do the pseudocode, the better and the easier that it's going to make our programming when we get to that point. So now I'm going to go into my task main, which is the main part of my program, and when I'm typing, I want to make sure I'm typing inside of these curly braces, because if I type outside, then the program's not going to read it and it's not going to run properly. So I want it inside these curly braces, and so all we got to do if we did our pseudocode right is just read our pseudocode and just kind of interpret it and put it into the ROBOTC language.